Hi there. I wanted to share a little bit about what an embodied processing session might look like, and also how it relates to some of the principles that I try to incorporate in that I think are good for healing, kind of the main ideas of uh, educating ourselves, regulating, supporting, processing, and growing. So we'll just go through this. I'm not going to spend a ton of time with this, but at the top, we have so this would kind of be the education part at the beginning, the initial session, and at the beginning of the session, getting to know you a little bit more, what you're coming in for, maybe what questions you have, and also maybe some education about finding out what you know about trauma and trauma patterns and loops, giving a little bit of information on that, maybe some resources for you to learn more, and setting a little bit of a foundation. We can also provide, as questions come up, we go through that maybe during the session or after. So trying to provide some of that education throughout our work together. And then the next section there where you see option one, two, three, there are also or at least seven or so main ones, but there are even more that we can use. But there's a variety of options here. This would be our resourcing or regulation part of the process. So if we picture going into this work that we're starting to go out into the water to do some swimming, we want to know that we can return to safety. We have some solid ground, the shore. We know how to get there. We can go there whenever we need to. We know that we can swim safely. We can come and go. We don't want to just jump out into the middle of the water without knowing how to swim, without knowing that we can get back to safety and shore. So we start by kind of building that foundation here of some safety. Safety is very important when we're working with trauma and the nervous system. So we want to start to learn what that is for you and your body. Maybe it's safety is too much of a word and it's just starting to find a sense of support or neutrality or just things feel a bit better or more soft than beforehand. So we start by doing that. There are more options that aren't even listed here, but we can work with finding safety in the actual body or a body part. We might be able to go to a memory in the past, a place that we've been to or a vacation, and really imagining that scene and what it feels like. Because as we imagine it, even though it's in the past or in the future, we can imagine it, and our body will actually feel those same sensations and emotions as if we're actually there right now. There's also, we can imagine something that we've never been to, a place in the future, or imagine what it would be like to be there. We could bring in a person that maybe we find supportive, whether that's something like a religious figure or a leader that's helpful and supportive to you. Imagining that person or that caretaker or that figure to help provide that sense of support for you. We also have other things like orienting to our space. We can get some movement of the body and seeing how the body responds to movement, oftentimes a bit slow or focused movement, and really feeling into that. There's also things like we can do body scans, just sensing into where our body is touching and the pressure. So there's a whole bunch of different options that we have for that. And then the next point there is once we spend some time with the resourcing option or the regulation option, then we can anchor that in. So we can use a kinesthetic anchor where we imagine or we feel those feelings and really feel those pleasant feelings or neutral feelings, wherever that is for us in our resource. And then we can maybe grab our wrist We could use our heart or our belly, a variety of options for that also. But we are anchoring that safer, more regulated, supported feeling, relaxed feeling into the body. And over time, as we start to layer more and more resources or memories on that same anchor, if we use the same anchor usually, then that can help us to continue to build resource. And then sometimes just going to that part will automatically help us to feel more relaxed without even doing a whole lot of resourcing, just by feeling that spot on the body. So we do the anchor, and then so depending on what we're working with, we don't want to feel that each session we have to go through this flow chart exactly. It's kind of a rough guide. It might be we might just do part of this, we might do the whole thing. If your body's very, if you have a good amount of trauma, we've never done this work before, we might spend a lot of time just with this beginning part of the chart here, resourcing and regulating, because it might not be ready to go into anything triggering or anything big yet. It might take weeks or months, sometimes even years, depending on how our system is and where we're at with our process, to really build enough safety to be able to start to go into these other triggers and other things a little bit deeper. So just be aware that it's not always a fast process, or usually it's not a fast process. Oftentimes this is we work together over time, and this slowly starts to unfold as we start to trust the body, we start to trust each other and working with each other and getting to know what's most helpful for you, because everybody is different in what works for them and what doesn't work. So when we get to that part, eventually we can invite in the trigger or whatever that is. So this might be anything from you noticed something in relationship, maybe with your family, your friends. It repeatedly brings these emotions or this challenge up for you. Maybe you notice something at work, which continually seems to be a trigger for you. Any sort of life experience, any sort of certain memory that you know is really bothering you, we can start to bring that in and see what that's like and start to explore it a little bit. So, as we get to know it, we can see there what is the emotion or sensation uh, underneath it. So this is we're kind of moving in to that part of processing as we get further down the chart here. So there might be one emotion or a couple of emotions associated with this trigger. So we try to find one main one eventually, or some of the main ones, and start to learn about what they are, where they come from, what's that really like in the body? What's it feeling like? Because as we activate this trigger, then the body will respond with maybe different symptoms, different sensations. We might get images that pop up, memories that come up. So we start to see what the emotion is. And then maybe as we go further here, finding origins, we can learn at times what was the origin point of that, because we might be dealing with something now in our life keeps triggering us, but when we start to really look at it, it's actually something that happened years ago or decades ago. It's keeps repeating on this loop. So it's not really what's happening now as much as the things that happened a long time ago that never got to complete. So when we can start to learn what was the origin point, maybe what this reminds us of. Does it bring up any earlier memories? How old do we think it was when these things happened? Oftentimes we can find an earlier point in our life of the origin point. Should we go down here a little bit more? We get into seeing what comes up with that. Is there a color? Is there a sensation, a thought, an image that's connected with that part of the body and that trigger? And just spending some time with that, really looking at it, being with the details of it, and allowing that to be there as we get to explore it a bit. And because eventually, or oftentimes, the thing in the past, we never got to complete the action. The emotion, maybe we couldn't totally feel out. We couldn't totally be with all of the anger. We couldn't totally be with the sadness. So some of that it is still in the body, wanting to complete and finish the emotion. And um, we want to try to allow that in a safe space to be with that and to allow that to work itself through. So some options that we can do to help with processing actually that emotion. There's at least five here listed of being with that, different techniques of allowing that to move through and explore a little bit more. And what else was I going to say? Something, but I forgot at that point. And then And some of these, depending on what we're in, if we're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, we might have certain techniques we use to work with that particular type or part of our nervous system and work with these emotions there. So like an example, say at an early time, we had something happen, like we had an accident and we were young and we were had to be strapped down to a table to make sure we were safe or our body was safe, but yet we were contained. We couldn't totally move the way we wanted to. We were probably having anger. There was probably sadness in there, maybe a variety of emotions. And if we were not allowed to fully feel those or be with those, had the support that we needed at the time, then those things most likely are still in our nervous system, in our bodies as certain patterns. And so we might invite one of those emotions in as we work with it, learn about it, and go through these different steps. And then let's say we get down towards the end and we feel like there's some resolution and completion, but there also, that was maybe just one emotion we are working with. So there still might be shame there. There still might be anger. There still might be different things happening. So then we would return. We can go back later on. We can start with the next thing that comes up and let's go through that and learn about that other emotion that was in that same experience, but let's work through that. So oftentimes, there's multiple levels of emotions and things happening in just one experience. So, resolution and completion might look is going to look different again for everybody. It might just be more of an awareness of our nervous system. We might find a memory that we didn't realize was there or a part that's been split off. We're thinking about IFS, like a part that maybe we didn't even know was there, subconscious. We've pushed it down, but now we're aware of this new thing that's been in there, but now we can see it more clearly. So that would be some resolution. We might have a significant feeling like things have really shifted a lot, things have changed. There's a variety of ways. Maybe we have a different mindset, or we realize that, yeah, things really weren't as bad as we thought now, or we have this shift as the body allows that to work itself out. Maybe we feel also in our mind, we see things differently. We see things a little bit more openly, or things don't just seem brighter, more open, um, less heavy as they were before. So there's a variety of different ways that resolution and completion might look for you. And sometimes it's maybe not so significant. It's little shifts, it's little bits of awareness that we learn. Even being able to be with an emotion more. Maybe we could never really feel any anger. It was too much for us, and it feels just so overwhelming. But now we can start to be with some of it in little pieces. We can start to feel into some anger. We can start to feel that there's a lot of sadness or depression there. We can start to be with some of it. And that is also a successful session when we can start to be with those feelings and house them and contain them and start to be able to have more and more that we can hold and that we can be with without going into overwhelm. So as we do this, if it feels like things are overwhelming, we're getting too much into maybe these emotional things, or it just starts to be too much for our body or nervous system, we can always go back to the body, to the top here, to these resource options. We slow things down, we go back, we're always checking, making sure things are safe, comfortable for you, that everything feels okay for you. And there's also on the left here emergency measures. Some of these are just like real, even quicker, smaller things that we can do to bring our activation down, our activation down a bit and feel safer. Just other options of resourcing there. And then at the end, we have checking in with you, making sure things are somewhat settled or you're at a decent place to continue on with the rest of the day. Maybe you have some questions. If we want, we can sometimes make a little bit of a plan or a goal for the next session or idea, and just checking in with you. And then that's kind of wrapping things up. So that's, here we go. That's how a session can look. Again, this is a rough framework. It's not exactly like this. It's kind of a way that things can flow, but they don't always go this way. Some sessions you never know what's going to happen, or things come up quickly. Sometimes right away, things come up, or sometimes it takes a long time to get into some of the subconscious material that it emerges later on. So it just depends on you and your nervous system. Hopefully that was helpful. If you found this on YouTube, feel free to check out my website at mountainandmeadowhealth.com. You can find more information there, some articles and blog and things like that. And hope you have a good rest of the day. Also, if you want to learn more about this, you can click up in the corner at the site to book now. We can have a free 30-minute call at a time that works for you. Maybe you have some more questions about some of this process or any of the other things that I work with people with. And I think that's it. So see you later. Bye.